I'm Mr. Rosansky, and this is a speed run of practice test PSAT 2, the second module, the C module, the hard one. And let's find our first conventions question and get this cutie pie pop. And I'm going to check for my omega conventions, and nothing pops. There's nothing there. Consistency falls. No lists, no bridges, no semicolons, no dashes, no equivalents because that previous step falls. So I guess I'm on the final four already. Woof. Not a good look for the strategies, but in an environment like this where I'm giving it a period, I know how to check for complete sentences, so I'm going to go looking for complete sentences. I see on the left side, before the park's construction, the surface temperature 30 meters outside of the parkway was cooler than that of the control area. I could use a period there, and I like the way that feels. I have my subject, so it was surface temperature, was, and then on the right side, I'm going to check this after construction. That's chill, right? We have this phrase here, this adjunct phrase here, and we've got another one here that seems to be chill. The temperature 30 minutes outside of the but was. I've got another subject and a verb here. This parallel construction in this construction question is absolutely gorgeous. I can have a complete sentence on either side. Therefore, on the final four, I can just look for complete sentences. I can recognize that this is probably a complete sentence mix-up in nature, even though it doesn't look like one. Woof! Let's hope that we find some that lets us save some time, please. I'm going to check my omega considerations. Nothing's there. I'm going to check for then consistency with lists and bridges. I see a semicolon. I don't see any other semicolons. No period. Golly, can this give us a break? So then that falls. Nothing lands for equivalence. And then we can check step four, the final four. So I'm going to go looking about this semicolon. Let's look to the right side. Semicolon were removed when the bridge was complete. Disgusting. That falls. Let's check to see if I have a complete sentence on the left. These temporary supports a construction system known as false work. That falls. The final four is getting some value. A and D both could fall because there's no complete sentence to the left. Now I can consider between B and D. I like the no pause, but I also like the pause, right? We like the pause if we're disciplined and we go looking for the subject. The comma is working together with the other comma to make a little bridge. These temporary supports were. The choice of B is wrong because we would be separating the subject, supports, from its verb, were, with a lone comma. B falls, C gets our choice. We're on to the next one. Let's test these omega considerations. We see an omega consideration. We see verb. We've got a plural. We've got a plural. We've got a singular. We've got a plural. Let's pick the odd man out, but we want to be disciplined. Go looking for its subject. On the left side, I see a little bridgy poo. I see an artificial intelligence is going to be my subject. This is a relative clause. Sustainable energies is the object of absorbs. Its subject is that. An artificial intelligence powers Chicago's energy grid. 17 is C, and that's gorgeous. Conventions, let's hope that the omega convention pops, and it does not. It kind of looks like the complete sentence mix-up, but it's not, because as is in a coordinated conjunction, additionally, we have two periods. Therefore, we'll look for consistency. Nothing works there because we have no semicolons or dashes. We look for equivalence, which falls because we have none in step two. So then we're on the final four again. Oof. Let's go after one of these two periods. In modern play, actors typically won't acknowledge the audience, period. Both of those are fine. Actors won't acknowledge, got a complete sentence to the left. I dig it, I dig it, I dig it. Now, let's just choose one of these. As to do so breaks the fourth wall, a metaphorical barrier between actors and audience that allows viewers to suspend. You should recognize that this is all in a positive. All we really care about is the as to do so breaks the fourth wall. When we compare these two, we see that this as is ruining the right side from being a complete sentence. This period is chill. To do so breaks the fourth wall. My subject, to do so, breaks the verb, independent clause on the right. Therefore, for 18, I'm going to pick this C, not even engaging with the craziness here, because like the complete sentence to mix-up demands, they're just going to be joining two complete sentences with absolutely nothing. Omega considerations, nothing. Whew. Let's look for consistency. There's nothing. We look for equivalence. There's going to be nothing. Equivalence, equivalence. Oh, that's probably why. Then the final four is going to land. Let's consider what we've got for the final four. I'm going to go after this. Do I have a complete sentence to the left? Let's start wherever the sentence starts. Butterfly is a painting, right here. Like many of the paintings, Butterfly, which portrays a swimmer, I'm going to read over this relative clause here and start over again. Butterfly attempts to make use of the entire visual light spectrum. Period. I like that. So far, the colon is nice. Sporting rainbow striped goggles, comma, the rainbow-hued swimmer splashes through a wavy rainbow of water. So I have a complete sentence to the right, but colon can have anything pretty much to the right side of it. I'm going to consider if the right side exemplifies the left side for this one. Is a wavy rainbow of water the entire visual light? Yeah, I like it. I dig it. I could consider the other ones that while would be presenting some sort of contrast that isn't present or concurrent action that isn't present, but then A falls because there is a complete sentence on either side. Therefore, that is disgusting. This is a tricky one. None of our mega conventions are popping. Weird that that's on the PSAT. Omega considerations, complete sentence mix up, nearly complete sentence mix up, but then it's got this which. So we abandon the omega considerations. We can go looking for D for consistency, but there's nothing for it to be equivalent with. Equivalence, we check. There's nothing, so we're on the final four. I'm going to pick the D as my bias, and I'm going to go looking for a complete sentence on either side. The Limon technique, this is another thing that I'm just going to read over because it's some sort of bridge. The Limon technique is known for its emphasis on breath control and its interplay of weight and weightlessness. Period. Gorgeous. Right side. Dancers may explore, for example, we can move this to the front. We can read over it. Dancers may explore the moment of midair suspension at the top of the drum. Gorgeous. I love it. I've got a complete sentence on the left. I've got a complete sentence on the right. Even though it wasn't the complete sentence mix up, A, B, and C are all going to fall for essentially the exact same thing. Wow, what a rough section. We didn't have anything other than forcing us to find one luck on that. And then the rest was just forcing you to recognize complete sentences on either side. Absolutely brutal. So the Soldiers' Convent was overlooked for decades. In 2017, lawmakers declared a day of recognition was overlooked. I wanted a little bit of contrast, but it's not present. It's not the same. It's not an example of the thing to the left. It's either lastly or then. As I read this sentence, the 1,500 miles, nearly 4,000 Americans. The Soldiers' Convent was overlooked it. Then, finally, right? Lastly, isn't it? Because it's not the way in which sequence is going, and it's not like a logical conclusion of this. It's almost some sort of contrast, but then is going to be the right answer. Another logically complete. Let's see what we've got on the left side. Many theorized that the container's air had become saturated with a substance called phlogiston. Right? He termed it dephlogisticated air. Had become saturated. Many theorized that the air had become saturated with a substance called that thing. So when he first isolated the gas, for this reason. I'm going to read a little bit more. This is a confusing one. Observing that the fire in the closing went out, did not conclude that the fresh air is necessary for combustion. Instead of fresh air, many theorized that the container's air had become saturated with a substance. It was full of it. So it was deflostic. Oh, for this reason, because it had become saturated, they land on it. Awesome. We keep cruising. The student wants to describe how scientific understanding about the glass's origin has evolved. Describe how the understanding has evolved. What's the change? Have long sought to determine the glass's origin with one study concluding that it was formed in this concept. No, that's not presenting an evolution. Studies and offer different explanations. That's okay for now. Mineral signatures of the glass samples are consistent with those of comet samples. We don't have an evolution. A 2017 study concluded that ancient fires had caused the glass's formation, but new researchers suggest that's absolutely going to be it, as long as it's true. 2017 and 21. One of these two can be true. All I have to do is check to make sure that the 2017 study concludes that ancient glass fires had melted the area's sandy soils and fired. The glass form is a comet for desert. I will check the next one. D is the right answer. Begin a narrative about the creation of robots. How bizarre. Unusual. When one robot encounters a group in the path, it sends a signal to the other robot. The robot comes back and pushes it. Begin a narrative. I don't really think that works, but this is a weird one, so I'll table A and move on. After a year, this seems like I'm already into it. After a year, I'm already cozy with the guy. Move on. C, inspired by ants, which form bridges. body to form a gap. Set out. This is like the beginning of the journey. This is somewhere within. If I have to do this, C is better. Ants, which is inspired. Nobody would understand that this is a notion about robots. If we chose D, C is going to be the right answer. Let's emphasize a difference in how they use mimicry. How they use mimicry. Let's start engaging. These mimic the mirror. I guess this could work on how they do it. They mimic flowers, and these do leaves. Candidates are two examples. No, this seems to be a similarity, unlike crab spiders, which use it. Okay, so these seem to be fine. I like to see a little bit more lit, but let's check for facts. Crab spider mimics crab spider. Here we go for this. This is the crab spider. Crab spiders ambush prey. Crab spiders. This is they mimic leaves. So this is a liar. C is gorgeous. D, this does not explain a difference in how they use it. C is going to be the right answer for that one. Students wants to describe the exhibition that Guerrero curated in 2018, held at the Whitney Museum of American Art. This one seems to be fine so far. Held at the Whitney Museum. The exhibition included nearly 200. Sure. Then I look at this one. We've got this Okay, so right now, a description of it. 2018. These are different italicized things. Which one was held in 2018? I see 2018. So we're trying to describe the one in 2018. The 2018 is Pacha. So this one isn't it. B is fine. In 2018, 2001, this doesn't describe an exhibit. Well, one, this is contrasting the exhibits, but I want to describe the exhibit. B for 26, we're going to go with. Once the student wants to use one of the poems to illustrate the sestina form. Hacker implies that a poetic form use one of the poems. This is giving me both of the poems. As a sestina towards autumn contains gorgeous, 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 illustrating it. I love it. The 36 nines. This seems to be doing the exact same as this. So disagreement of fact. Towards autumn is right here. Towards autumn is right here. Towards autumn ends with daughter, friend, brother, good. The 36 forage sestina includes daughter. So this is lying. This one does not include this. He's a liar. Hacker has used the forms multiple times in towards autumn, and this is lying about the words too. B is true. Ooh, that one was a labor. Therefore, largely emphasizes the center over the periphery. Whoa, we've got tons. Colon up here. I bounced back one, found the colon at the very start of the sentence, then the way in which our balance affects. So the balance affects how they perceive it. What a program is largely affected by, contingent on is going to be my answer. Pick it and move on to the next one. Cuttlefish appear to be signed. We've got this over here. Colon's going to kick me forward. These have routinely demonstrated restraint. Therefore, they're competent. Okay, good for you, Cuttlefish. Absolutely awkward to consider Cuttlefish being able to do this. I have a desire to find a signal element. I don't see anything there. Can mitigate the effects. Oh, caused by can be a signal element. The affix could kick me back one. I could go in either direction. If I did the effects, looking to increase the capacity, that doesn't help me with any of these items. Caused by unpredictable shifts. This is going to be it because unpredictable shifts maps onto fluctuations. Pick it and move on. Now, I become inaccessible because is going to kick me. They are inaccessible because viewing them, nobody can access them. So it's not everywhere. The rest are still on the table. Most notably, it was discontinued. Requires the use of defunct. Matches the discontinued statement on this one. What's the overall structure of the text? Okay, we'll do it like we always do these structures. Among the wild rice in this, which is a plant, by the way, among the wild rice in the lagoon, the monotone, there is nature and animals. Then I move on. Lake cranes, birds are doing things like a spirit swathed in some soft veil. Twilight is doing things. Hushed in the sieges and vapors creep. Thick gray marshes are sleepy or tired. Right. There's not really much to summarize out this. It names this animal species, then a place, then no, it does not do that. It sketches a setting of images of nature. Yeah, that's kind of all that I had. Extended, I didn't really get human emotions in any of that, and it doesn't speak to a person. It personifies nature. Let's see what it's doing here. Find the store. Find the store using backyards only. Imagine a route. Find a store. Imagine a route. These are imperatives. I don't know how to summarize this. Find the store using backyards only. Imagine a route from the school to my friend's house. Describes a narrator trying to memorize or telephone. Provides example of what the narrator thinks about. B is better, but I see that there's a colon here, so I'll go back one. At night in bed, I rehearse the small world scheme and set challenges. Okay, I like this so far. It describes the narrator trying to memorize. I don't think she's trying to memorize her telephone number in this moment. When I read 6, it provides example. Sure, it gives the directions. This does not do that. It doesn't do that. It describes the narrator trying to. No, they're at night rehearsing and doing something. B is the right answer. Pick it and move on. What does the text suggest about the Turkins? If newcomers to the little city province complained that life was monotonous and dull, its inhabitants would answer that. On the contrary, S was a very about the Turkins. S was indeed that at a library and a club, and the balls were given there. And finally, there were very pleasant families who lived there with whom I might be acquainted. And they always pointed to the Turkins as the most accomplished and most enlightened family of all. What does the text suggest about the Turkins? They're relatively newcomers. I don't remember that. They have a unique status, most accomplished and most enlightened. I like that. No, this detail that I found seems to refute C. They're amused by other. I don't have. It says this, as they always pointed to the Turkins as the most accomplished. They have a unique status in the city. How do I know that they have a unique status? Is they would always be pointed to by the people as this. B is the right answer. Pick it and move on. What does the text most strongly suggest about the songs that were sung by Rainey and Smith? Okay. In the book, Angela Davis and her analysis and part of the recordings by Gertrude and Smith. Davis focuses on how Rainey and Smith improvised the lyrics, replacing the original lines with mischievous jokes and wordplay. Davis's work was particularly labor-intensive because it had to be right down. Davis's work, who's studying this, was particularly labor-intensive because in order to transcribe the lyrics as they sang them, the lyrics weren't very clear. So there was improvisation and tough to hear on a read. The songs have grown in popularity. I don't really feel like that's a suggestion about the songs that was made. There were more recordings than there were of Smith's. I don't remember any of that. We'll leave that on the table though. No, we'll take that off. I don't think I found anything about that. There were few, if any, reliable transcriptions of when they began. Davis's work was particularly labor intensive because in order she had to write them down, listen to the review, which wasn't very clear. Reliable, yes. This was the person who did it. So it wasn't that they were growing in popularity. That A says there just weren't many of the recordings for them to do. According to Davis, the songs were more innovative. No. These B and D are drawing comparisons that aren't there. All we have is that the songs, the bad quality made it hard to hear, so it was reliable. It's got to be C. Picking to move on. What's the main idea of the text? Let's grab this final sentence. They love these little stories about dogs. Fine. It was as though they were trying to dupe the hands of clocks by changing the numbers on its face. It was as though they were trying to time, I don't know, perception. I've literally no idea from that sentence. So we'll just start at the start. Kay was not happy about going to Switz. He hated change. Dog time cannot be. This is a dog, huh? Yeah, it's a dog. Okay. Dog time. Dog time cannot be plotted along a straight. Dog time is nebulous. It does not move on and on from one thing to another. Dog time is a circle, which they too, unwilling to match. Who's they? It moves in a circle like the hands of a clock, which they too, unwillingly to dash madly ahead. Oh, they are the hands of the circle, turn round and round. Cycles, routines, cycles, routines. In Prague, Thomas and Teresa, his owners, bought new things. He hates it. It was disturbed a sense of time. Then we get the thing at the end. All right. As a dog, a sense of time that involves a strong preference for predictability and an aversion to disruption. I like that. After he moved to a new home, negative response to change. No, it's not changing over time. All of this is stating how he perceives things, but he's always been a little grumpy boy over change. Similar to them, comprehends time as a circular rather than a straightforward progression. He does view it as circular, but the they was the clock hands, not the people. Super tricky, as in the case for dogs, as is the case for, I don't have a comparison to other dogs here. Maybe it does say dogs time. Sense of time seems to accelerate. No. Places that surround, depending on the object. No. This A matches. It does say the thing about dog times being a circle, and the rest of this about acceleration isn't the main idea of the text. What do we got here at this very end? Long distance trade in Mexican art objects. Therefore, some scholars argue that long distance trade in Mexican art objects, long distance trade with M art brought this thing to Missouri. In Missouri, local artists adopted it and put it into the FG. What would most strongly be supported by the underlined explanation? So, long distance trade brought Mexican art to Missouri. These artists took Mexican art and put it into FG. Sure. The film is dated not to the Mississippian period, but instead to the earlier Woodland period, which ended around. This is getting a when that I have no idea. I'll probably have to go into the text for this. The range of the jaguar is shown to have expanded dramatically after. Yes, I need some time here. I don't see any time in the previous sentence, so I'm just going to start at the start. Dang. G's are ceremonial attire. Fine. One of the oldest examples, first sentence doesn't matter. One of the oldest examples we have is the FG in Missouri. It was found in 1958, but that doesn't matter. The design resembles the FG is like art in the region. In the region. Mississippian period, 900 to 1600. The FG is like art in the region. However, it has a jaguar on it. It has a jaguar on it. Therefore, some argue that long-distance trade in Mexican art objects brought the imagery to Missouri. So it's like everything else, but someone brought it here, okay? But instead to the earlier Woodland period. No, 10A doesn't make any sense. It's so much like it. I don't even know why it would do this. Why you wouldn't think we could have adopted it. Yeah, A is falling. The range of the jaguar is shown to have expanded dramatically after the Mississippian came to a close. After the Mississippi. I don't know why the end date, if my time is that the Mississippian period was here and the art resembles all of the art there, this would not support. The jaguar period has nothing to do with this. They're saying that someone moved within this time period. B has nothing to do with it. 10. An ancient Mexican object is found at the site that dates to the Mississippian periods and is close. Yes. Okay, because you would say, hey, prove it. Prove that someone from Mexico made it here with this thing. Well, we found this object that dates to that. Certain works by present-day artists. Get out of my face. That has nothing to do with this. C is going to be the right answer. Data from the graph to complete the text. Mean ticket price is chosen in 2 studies of participate price methods. Complete the text. I've got a colon. Their results illustrate the difference of consumer valuations in house seller. Let's type this guy. Difference in valuations and sellers can benefit by prompting difference. Their results illustrate both the difference of consumer valuations and how sellers can benefit by prompting. So prompt to consider own valuations has to be something that we engage with. And then the other thing that I need to engage with is difference in vals. So these two things need to be engaged with. That's what the colon is saying. Both of these things, I want to find something to love, somebody to love. All right, let's see if we can squish this over. Deep breath. The students tended to value the concert tickets more highly than did the more age diverse group. I don't. Participants. I need an answer for this. Participant pricing. By doing so, and I'm looking for how to parse out like 1 and 2. By doing so requires and paying and 171. So 171 is online. And so this is 1 and 83 for a second study. So 1 is online, 2 is students. So we can scroll back up and keep engaging. So 2 tended to value the concert tickets, concert tickets more highly than did than 1, true. But when considering what they could afford to pay, what you can, the students, no, not true. In all 3 messaging conditions, the group of participants recruited online, which is 1, tended to choose lower prices than in all 3. That's fine. But both groups tended to choose prices closest to the actual cost of the tickets when told to consider B. I don't pay what you think it's worth. Pay what you want, pay what you can, pay what you want, pay what you think it's worth. I don't think I have the actual ticket price. I'm going to move to C. The students tended to value the concert tickets more highly than when viewed online. Then did the more age group recruited online. That's true. In each bucket they do. So that satisfies the first one. But both groups tended to choose a higher price when considering the value of tickets than when considering what they could afford or want to pay. Yes, this is perfect. I want to prove difference in vowels. A does that, or C does that more highly. But both groups tend to choose a ticket price when considering the value. Then, when can afford, yes. Prompt to consider their own valuations, the heterogeneity, the difference, can benefits by, yeah. For 11, C is the right answer. Absolutely. Pick it and move on. Oh my gosh. Colleagues propose that non-gravitational acceleration, non-grav accel, is because the expulsion of trapped hydrogen from the icy rich body. Okay. Jeez Louise. Okay. Initially observed, I'm going to read, no. Existing proposed models of outgassing include, we want to support the claim, include the direct conversion of nitrogen or carbon monoxide from a solid to a gaseous state without becoming lit, but these models have theoretical or unobserved. We want to support the claim that non-grav is due. I don't see how these words, this is just dunking on studies. Get out of my face. The trajectory is inconsistent with non-gravitational. Is non-gravitational would be caused by hydrogen gas resulting from the prop at the interstellar. Fine, at least talked about hydrogen. Since non-gravitational accelerations of interstellar objects are several orders of magnitude weaker than deviation from the behavior can be fully attributed to gravitational pull that has been detected. No. Non-gravitational acceleration is due to hydrogen being released. This doesn't talk about that at all. C has to fall. Exposure to interstellar cosmic radiation can result in the formation of embedded Okay, we can have hydrogen. Moreover, when traveling through this system, warming, it has to be D. But interstellar observer can be explained if it has a significant but the interstellar objects observer can be explained if it has a significant, is inconsistent with non. Oh no, this is inconsistent with. It's got to be D. Pick it and move on. Read this. Numerous observations. They offer some kind of support. Bunch of orgs offer same support to new artists. And we're just going to lump that all into the bucket. Artists of all ages can benefit more from technical training than can. I like it so far. Many arts organization recognize the importance of providing up to young audience. This seems to be it, but I have to go in. Is it for everything, or is it technical training versus creative guidance? I pop back a sentence and I can read that it's saying that it's both of these things. A false because it's saying contrast that's not there. More established artists could be even better artists by serving. No. We seem to similar kinds of support. The support is that mentors help children. We have no claim. They could even suffer from this, could be mentors. Finding a mentor is more important for a musician than it is. This is drawing some sort of parsing out of these things, but this is saying that painters all benefit. Pick it, move on. B is the right answer. Then let's engage with our final question. From this, he concluded that around 2,000 years ago, I need to read the previous sentence. Let's chunk this. What does this say? 2,000 years ago, some sites contain artifacts appeared. Sites appeared consistent with the Near East origin, with things from Near East, like glass beads. This is odd because sites in Serbia appeared with things from NE, like glass beads. This is odd because people should know in Siberian extensively because Siberians never left. From this, they concluded that 2,000 years ago, sites in Siberia appeared with things. 2,000 years ago, sites in Siberia appeared with things like people came in from NE 2,000 years ago. That would be what I got. Dogs and artifacts like glass beads began to be transported from the Near East to Siberia. I like this so far. People from Siberia began to reach the Near East, where they acquired. No, we don't have extensive traveling. Glass beads and other artifacts from the Near East began to be exchanged with dogs. Dogs. Where did dogs come from? Dogs is the gene. More than 100 domesticated dogs from Serbia dating. They found that the dogs constituted a genetically isolated population until 2,000 years ago, and the breeding. Yes. So C and D are both screwing up the concept by saying that there was a swap that happened, but both artifacts appeared in Siberia 2,000 years ago. A is the right answer. Absolutely. Pick it and move on. Oh, well, that was our last one. GG's.